talk to you guys. I gave you the list. If you got on the call late, you may have missed it. So Eunice, could you put in the chat box again, the 34 ways to get listing is a Google sheet that you can click on and download it to your computer. If you got on the call a little bit late, you may not see it in the chat box because you only see the chat for what's there when you got on the call. So Eunice has put that in again. And before we jump into that, I want to go into something here real quick. I'm going to read something to you, and I want you to tell me what you think. This is the definition of a word. Okay, so listen up. I'm going to give you the definition, and I want you to guess the word. Now, okay, we're all in integrity, right? We're all in integrity, so don't put the definition in your Google search. Okay? Don't put the definition in a Google search. Just try to think of it. I know Cindy's like, "Ooh, I was getting ready to jump on that." Yeah, Cindy and I are we're about finding the easiest and fastest way to get information, and Google is it. Here's the definition. I do want you to use your brain a little bit and think about this. The definition is not false or imitation. True to one's own personality, spirit, or character. So I'm going to say it again.
Authenticity.
Who said it?
Astrid.
Astrid's right. Authenticity. Astrid's right. Authenticity. Okay, so listen. Not false or imitation. True to one's own personality, spirit, or character. Oh my gosh. You guys write character in really big letters. Now, I don't know, maybe I'm the only one, but I can find myself falling a little bit short of my character that I wish to have sometimes. I'll be honest with you. Moving into this house and the complete and total how terrible this process has been has tested my character in terms of what I wanted to say to people, but I kept my mouth shut, right? We all have character defining moments. It's so easy to be of good character when things are good, right? It becomes a little bit more challenging when things are hard, not easy, or when we have the opportunity to become complainers because of our circumstances. And I really had to do a gut check on this. My husband and I were out walking this morning, and he said, he said something, and I said, because, we are a little bit upset about our house. And I said to him, I said, you know what, we could do that. And that's what everybody else on this street would do. But God has called us to be different people and to show up differently in the world, right? So here's what the reason I went through this, not false or imitation, true to one's own personality, spirit, or character, is because we've put this list of 34 things you can do to get listings in the chat box. And the reason I brought up authenticity is because we can get into this comparison game of looking at what everyone else is doing and to be successful, and then change gears and do what that person's doing. Am I the only one that's ever fallen into that? Some of you are not on camera, but raise your digital hand if you have fallen into that trap. They're doing it, so I'm going to do it. They're doing it, so I'm going to do it. Karen Wilkinson's clapping. She's like, yes. Astrid's raising her hand. Yes, ma'am. Sandra's like, oh, yeah. But here's the thing, guys, and Cindy has a good comment. I'm going to read it in just a second. Here's the thing. Your tribe of sellers, and you know me, I'm always talking about sellers because buyers are very plentiful, all right? There will come a day when we will talk more about buyers and less about sellers, because sellers will be very plentiful, and buyers may be drying up for whatever's going on in the world, right? But we're talking about sellers. Sellers are drawn to your authenticity. Now, there is a reason why it's very rare for you to be able to find seller leads online that you can buy. How many of you have found a cheap way to buy seller leads? Seller leads, raise your hand. A cheap way to buy seller leads that are like, I'm ready to sell right now. No. Buyer leads are cheap. You can buy buyer leads online all day long. You got Zillow, Realtor.com, you got Commissions Inc., Boomtown, Facebook ads. I mean, you name it. People have gotten to the people have made millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars selling real estate agent buyer leads. The seller leads are different. And it's because sellers don't go onto the internet to find their agent by raising their hand saying they're ready to sell. They go online and they do a lot of looking, and then they ask someone else, or they look at their refrigerator and see what agents are on their refrigerator to find their real estate agent. Okay, this is a very long conversation to come back around to this one point. Whatever you're doing to get listings, make sure it's what is authentic to you. So if you are out geo-farming, there are many, 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 many ways to geo-farm. And I will tell you right now, that's really the best way to get listings is geo-farming for sale by owners expired, going to where the sellers are. But the best way for you to show up and do that is exactly who you are. The best way to show up on social media is the way that you are, who you are. Your authenticity will come through. So many of you have told me about being outdoor knocking and what you're doing. What I want to tell you is I have about 30 people that are outdoor knocking right now that I coach, and all of them are doing it in their way. And you're finding your tribe. So when you look at that list of 34 ways to get listings, make sure that you're doubling down on 2 or 3 ways. You've determined to do it for 90 to 120 days, and you've determined to do it the way you show up best to do it, because it's who you are. Some people are taking out gifts. Well, I'm not a gift person. So if I show up with a gift, it's going to be super awkward. If I show up to give someone a cupcake, it's going to be so awkward for me that, I mean, you're just going to know that I'm like a fish out of water. But if I show up to say, hey, I'm just curious, do you know what your equity position is right now? And I have a business conversation. Well, that's Becky. I can have a business conversation, but I'm not going to show up with treats and all this other stuff. That doesn't mean it's not right. I've got a client who shows up with treats and she's gotten 3 listings from treats, but she's a treat person. I mean, she's a lover of that. Her heart is huge. Not saying my heart's not huge, but you might not necessarily know that by talking to me. So, but hers, you meet her, her heart is huge, right? So be authentic to you, please, because that's how you will attract your tribe. And the person that wants to work with Astrid may not work with Matt. Just like Astrid's got a mega agent in her farm area. Well, not everybody's going to be attracted to that mega agent. When Astrid shows up, she's going to get her people that are attracted to her because of her authenticity. So really be careful about drafting someone else and trying to copy someone else, because the reason it's working for them is because it's them. Okay. Find your thing. As long as you're talking to 5 potential sellers every day, which my math was horrible yesterday, it's 25 a week, you will get listings. All right, let me tell you what some of the folks said in the chat box, and then we're going to end. Cindy Grisay says, I tend to go 1,000 miles per hour when I feel violated, and restraint is really, really hard. I'm all D. My filter has been hard, learning curve for me to attain success. What Cindy means by all D is she's a high driver personality. And that can be offensive to people if you're a driver, especially if they're not. And you have to learn how to mirror and match your audience. Thank you, Cindy. Joanne says, do what's fun to you, what you like, and then create it into a lead gen activity. Joanne loves bringing people together and having fun. And so Joanne is doing how many events this year? Joanne, is your plan?
My plans, I don't know, 6 to 10. It keeps changing.
6 to 10 events this year, inviting her sphere in because she loves to hang out with her people and her sphere, and she gets referrals from that. But that's who Joanne is. You might be thinking, I don't want to spend that much time with people. Well, then it's not your thing. It's her thing, and she's going to be successful. You find your thing. Love it. Astrid said, thank you for saying this. After door knocking, I realized that I feel more comfortable in front of people versus cold calling. Yes, because when you get belly to belly with people, number one, it's harder for them to be mean to you. And number two, because you're a human at that point, and Astrid's got this big, beautiful smile, right, Astrid? So that's awesome. You told us about that yesterday, right? Your door knocking experience. So I love that. And she's more authentic. Okay, guys. So today is Thursday. It's our last day. I will see you next week. I trust that today and tomorrow you will be out authentically showing up in front of sellers, either on the phone, door knocking, in some way showing up in front of sellers in order for you to get more listings, because listings is leverage and you have more of a work-life counterbalance when you have more listings, right? So guys, I love you so much. It's so good to see you. Thank you for showing up for me. I love showing up for you, and I'm going to see you on Thursday. Talk to you soon.